It started with a headline no one saw coming. Donald and Melania Trump to appear together on a primetime talk show. The internet practically exploded within minutes. Screens lit up across the country as people shared, commented, and argued. Some were convinced it was fake news, a clickbait rumor meant to stir drama. Others thought it was part of some secret campaign plan. But when the network confirmed it was true, the disbelief turned into pure excitement. Since leaving the White House, both Donald and Melania had been living mostly out of the public eye, especially together. Trump had made a few appearances at rallies and events, but Melania had kept her distance from the spotlight, rarely giving interviews. Seeing them both agree to appear side by side on live television, that was something no one expected. The show they chose made it even more shocking. It wasn't a political talk show or a friendly news network. It was the evening hour, one of the most watched entertainment talk shows in America, known for its unpredictability, emotional depth, and sometimes even explosive moments. The host, Carla Reynolds, was famous for her sharp wit and bold questions. She'd interviewed everyone, from movie stars to world leaders, and she had a reputation for getting people to open up in ways no one else could. Her interviews often went viral, not because of controversy, but because she had a way of revealing something real. So when Carla announced that Donald and Melania Trump would be joining her for a one-hour live special, the buzz was immediate. Ticket sales for the studio audience sold out in under 5 minutes. Fans, critics, journalists, everyone wanted to be in that room. Every major news outlet prepared live coverage. YouTubers were setting up reaction streams. Twitter was overflowing with theories. Would Trump announce something big? Would Melania finally speak about her time as First Lady? Would the couple talk about their marriage? No one had the answers. But one thing was certain. This wasn't going to be just another interview. It felt like one of those cultural moments where the whole country would stop, watch, and talk about it for days afterward. And deep down, everyone sensed it. Something unforgettable was about to happen. The studio lights dimmed to a deep gold glow, and a hush swept through the audience. The band's upbeat tune faded, replaced by a dramatic drum roll. Then came the moment everyone had been waiting for. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome former President Donald Trump and former First Lady Melania Trump. The crowd erupted instantly. It wasn't just applause. It was a wave of sound that filled every inch of the studio. Phones shot up in the air, capturing the moment. Cameras flashed like a storm of fireworks. Trump appeared first, walking onto the stage with his trademark confidence. He gave his familiar wave, the one people had seen thousands of times before, part greeting, part victory pose. His navy blue suit and bright red tie were as unmistakable as ever. Just a few steps behind him was Melania, graceful, calm, and poised. She wore a sleek white dress that stood out under the studio lights. She smiled politely, but not too much, just enough to charm the audience without revealing too much emotion. As they sat down across from Carla Reynolds, the host, the energy in the room was electric. Carla greeted them warmly, but her eyes said something else. Sharp, curious, and just a little mischievous. The kind of look that told everyone watching, something interesting is about to happen. Carla started with the easy stuff. Light, friendly questions. "How's life after the White House?" she asked. Trump leaned forward, grinning. "It's been great. I've been golfing more than ever, believe me. Best swings you've ever seen," he joked, earning a laugh from the audience. Melania followed with a soft smile, her voice calm and measured. "I've been enjoying time with my family," she said, "working on projects that matter to me. Life has been peaceful. Everything felt smooth, controlled, like a well-rehearsed dance." But then Carla leaned in closer, resting her elbows on the desk. Her tone changed, so slightly that only a seasoned interviewer could pull it off. "All right, Mr. President, Mrs. Trump, I have to ask what everyone at home is wondering." The laughter faded. The crowd fell silent. Trump leaned back, his smile tight, waiting. And then came the question that sliced through the silence like a knife. "Are you two truly happy together? Or is this just politics?" For a heartbeat, the world seemed to stop. Cameras zoomed in. The audience froze. And somewhere, millions of viewers leaned closer to their screens, waiting for the answer. For a few long seconds, there was nothing but silence. Even the band in the corner froze, hands hovering over their instruments. The audience didn't move, didn't whisper. Every single person was waiting for what would happen next. Donald Trump, a man known for his quick comebacks and unshakable confidence, sat perfectly still. Then, with a faint smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth, he leaned forward and said, "That's a very interesting question. A lot of people have asked me that, and the answer is simple. We're stronger than ever." He delivered it with his usual confidence. Steady voice, practiced tone. The crowd gave a few polite claps, unsure if the tension had passed or just shifted. But all eyes turned toward Melania. For a moment, she didn't speak. She simply looked at Carla, then at the audience, then down at her hands resting on her lap. The quiet stretched so long that even the cameras seemed to hold their breath. Then she lifted her head, smiled faintly, and said the words that would set the internet on fire. "Happiness is not a show. It's something you live, not something you talk about." Gasps rippled through the audience. Carla's eyes widened slightly. This was not the kind of polished, predictable answer she'd expected. Trump blinked, caught slightly off guard. Melania continued, her voice calm but firm. "People always expect us to perform, to prove something. But we've lived under a microscope for years. Every look, every word, every gesture gets judged. Sometimes silence says more than words." Her tone wasn't bitter. It was reflective, almost peaceful, as if she had carried those thoughts for a long time and had finally decided to let them out. It was a rare, vulnerable moment, one the world wasn't used to seeing from Melania Trump. She wasn't hiding behind politics or image. She was simply speaking her truth. Trump quickly leaned in, smiling again, trying to regain the upbeat tone. "She's right," he said. "We've had ups and downs like everyone else, but we've done some incredible things together, and we'll keep doing them." The audience applauded, but the energy in the room had changed. It wasn't the roar from before. It was quieter, more thoughtful. Meanwhile, the internet was already on fire. Within minutes, clips of that exchange flooded every platform. Headlines blaring, "Melania's truth bomb," "Trump's awkward reaction goes viral," and a chilling moment on live TV. No one could stop watching, and everyone had a different opinion on what they'd just seen. Carla Reynolds could feel it, the rare kind of electricity that only happens when television captures something real. The audience was hanging on every word, and even through the bright lights and cameras, Carla sensed she was walking a fine line between curiosity and vulnerability. So she did what great interviewers do. She pushed forward, but softly. She turned to Melania, her voice calm and respectful. "Melania, you spent 4 years as First Lady, constantly in the public eye. What do you miss most about that time?" Melania paused for a moment, her expression thoughtful. Then she smiled, a gentle, genuine smile that instantly softened the mood. "The children," she said quietly. "Meeting them, hearing their dreams, it reminded me what really matters. They were honest, hopeful, and they made me believe that kindness still has a place in this world." The audience murmured with appreciation. Carla nodded, visibly touched. For a brief moment, the tension that had filled the studio earlier seemed to melt away. Then she turned toward Trump. "And what about you, Mr. President? What do you miss most about being in the White House?" Without skipping a beat, Trump leaned forward, grinning. "Winning," he said proudly. "I miss winning for America." The crowd erupted in laughter. The timing was perfect, and even Melania cracked a small smile. But beneath the humor, there was something real in his tone, a sense of unfinished business. He went on, his voice growing more serious. "We had a strong economy, energy independence, and we were respected again. I miss that. I miss seeing America succeed." It wasn't quite a campaign speech, but it had the same rhythm, and with every word you could almost feel the audience wondering, was this a hint at something more? Then, just as the energy grew heavier, Carla flipped the tone again. She smiled and said, "Well, I think it's time for a little surprise." The lights dimmed slightly and the giant screen behind them flickered to life. A montage began to play. Funny behind-the-scenes clips from their White House years. The first showed Trump trying to record a speech, tripping over a word while Melania patiently corrected him. The second featured a light-hearted argument over Christmas decorations, Trump insisting on gold and red, Melania playfully rolling her eyes. The studio erupted in laughter. Even Trump leaned back, laughing out loud. Melania shook her head, smiling more openly than she had all night. For the first time that evening, the couple didn't look like political icons or media figures. They looked like a husband and wife sharing an inside joke. The crowd loved it. The tension was gone. For a few minutes, the Trumps were just human. As the show began to wind down, the studio lights softened, casting a warm glow across the stage. The crowd, still buzzing from the laughter and surprises, leaned forward in anticipation. Everyone knew Carla Reynolds always ended her interviews with one final, memorable question, the kind that made headlines the next morning. She glanced between the two guests and said with a calm smile, "If you could say one thing to America right now, what would it be?" The audience hushed instantly. Even Trump, who had been joking moments earlier, grew serious. He leaned forward, resting his hands on his knees, and spoke with a tone that was firm yet measured. "Don't believe everything you hear," he said. "Believe what you see. And you're seeing two people who love this country and each other." A soft murmur spread through the room. Some clapped right away. Others just sat still, watching. There was a rawness to his voice, something that made even his critics pause for a moment. Then slowly, all eyes turned to Melania. She took a breath, looked out toward the audience, and said quietly but clearly, "And always remember, kindness speaks louder than politics." Her words hung in the air like an echo, simple but powerful. For a few seconds there was silence, and then a full standing ovation. The host thanked them both, the band struck up its closing tune, and the credits began to roll. But the cameras kept catching small, genuine moments. Trump putting his arm around Melania's shoulder, Melania turning slightly toward him with a polite smile, and the two waving to the cheering crowd as they exited the stage. It wasn't a grand speech or a fiery debate. It was human, real, and that's what stuck with people. By the next morning, social media was flooded. Clips from the interview had gone viral on every platform. Some praised Melania for her honesty and grace. Others dissected Trump's tone, wondering if he had shown a rare softer side. Late-night hosts replayed the exchange, analyzing every pause, every glance. News outlets debated whether this was a public relations moment or something deeper. But no matter where people stood politically, one thing was undeniable. That talk show appearance had become a moment frozen in time. It wasn't just another interview, it was the interview everyone was talking about. And for one unforgettable night, Donald and Melania Trump reminded the world that even the most public figures can still surprise everyone.